Hello and welcome. It is time for round 7 of Grand Prix Indianapolis. Brandon Burton on the left of your screen. He's 5-1 with kind of a trademark deck for him. He's usually on a red aggro deck, at least if Affinity's not legal. Magic Online grinder for many years now, has played against Brad Nelson on that version of the game a bunch of times. Brad playing Bant Megamorph this weekend. See Brandon playing turn 1 Monastery Swift Spear and a turn 2 Monastery Swift Spear, getting some quick damage. Is he going to have an instant to trigger the prowess on these creatures? Brad just waiting to see how much damage he's going to take.
Yeah. F6 has been pressed. How much do I take? Swift Spear untapped itself. Something happened off the screen.
Sure, so we told this story at the Pro Tour. Brandon has suffered from cystic fibrosis for his whole life. His mother comes with him to events. Brandon is in a wheelchair, and he's able to, clearly he plays the game on Magic Online by himself, but just the physical acts of shuffling the cards and sort of maneuvering the cards around the playfield is something he needs some help with. So his mother is sitting next to him and helping him to actually play the cards. But yeah, so the Monastery Swift Spear is hit for 2. That red was for a Zergo. Now, I mean, on the play, it may not have triggered prowess yet, but it's a lot of power.
Oh, yeah. So that's a quick clock for any deck to deal with, that's for sure. You can see what Brad was talking about. In my story from the pregame when I talked about how he played turn 1 Island, Brad had also lost the roll, so he was already lamenting his luck. And he's like, all right, play your Zergo, play your Monastery Swift Spear. I'll take it all. Turn 1 Island, go.
All right, Brad's hanger back ran into a Fiery Impulse, as did the Thopter. That's 2 prowess triggers and 3, 6, 8 damage. Half of Brad's life. Now have a turn 3. This deck hits awfully hard.
Yeah, it does. Losing the roll is huge.
Yeah, for sure. Just Zergo?
Well, looks like everything.
Oh, okay, everything. And Brad is just going to, yeah. He blocks a Swift Spear because he has to try, but Titan Strength into Teamer Battle Rage. Kablam! Well over the 8 damage that Brandon needed to deal that turn. See a nice smile on his face. That's a nice quick game 1 victory.
Yeah, that's what red tends to do, at least when it's on the winning side.
Indeed. Yeah, a lot of the games, the game wins look like that. When the die roll, game 1 is also better. I mean, a lot of decks tend to have a sideboard. It's the only truly aggressive deck in Standard, so it does a lot better in game 1s as well. Well, let's look at the back table. Justin Cohen's on the Eldrazi ramp deck. I've been waiting to watch this. Luis is on Jeskai. And we've now hit the point where Ugin's hitting the battlefield. I got to imagine that is not good for LSV.
Well, main deck negate.
Hit the stack. My apologies. Not the table, but the stack.
Yeah, this really just depends on what life total Justin's at. At 17 life, there's a lot of big things that are probably going to start coming down. And this offshoot, which is not really a great Magic card in general, it feels like it's probably gained Justin a bunch of life. And Manus Rider has not really been keeping up.
I think I see an Ulamog in Justin's hand. Mantis Rider does chip over for 3, but like you said, Justin's life total seems to be in a decent place.
Yeah, Luis has kind of all the answers, but by the same token, he's still going to get wiped out by cards like Ulamog. Like, he's got the Ujjatai's Command to counter. He's got another negate to counter. He's got dig through time, but
wow.
the cast trigger of something like Ulamog is just going to be devastating. Not to mention being able to search up more cards. Although it looks like he's 1 mana short now. Yeah, it looks like he's got 9 mana in play with these shrines. 7 total lands looks like 9 mana to me.
I share your count.
So this might be enough time for Luis to actually get the job done. He's got Jeskai Charming in hand, and Jace can actually flash it back, so that represents potentially 8 damage. It's going to be close.
Hedron Archive is Justin's play. He can't get to 10, so he's going to try to make sure he's at 10 next turn. Luis choosing not to counter the Hedron Archive.
Yeah, the Archive just doesn't do that much, and if he taps out for something like Ugin and that gets negated, it gives Luis enough time to just win on the spot. He also looks like has Kolagon's command, which can just kill it if he wants to.
I mean, the card draw does seem not irrelevant, but
yeah,
like you said, he still had enough mana to do something even if Luis countered it. So. Fetches an island. He can flip his Jace here if he wants to.
I'm not sure exactly what he wants to do. He might just want to dig here.
Looks like he's going to pay 4. But dig delving 4. Dig delving 4. Does not flip his Jace. Just prefers the Merfolk Looter at this point.
Yeah, with nothing to flash back yet, it makes sense. I mean, he's not going to flash anything back this turn, so potentially getting an extra card.
I mean, there's the Jeskai Charm in his hand. That I guess
right,
if he's not
going to use
firing
it this
off,
turn.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, he's got some choices. It looked like there was a Painful Truth in there. It looked like a bunch of lands. A Jace. No, it's only a couple lands. A Jace, a Murderous Cut, a Fiery Impulse. Looks like he's going land Painful Truth.
Interesting.
Yeah, not a lot of cards he actually actively wants. Another Jace, a Fiery Impulse, just not a lot of excitement. The Impulse could take down the offshoot with, now that he's got Spell Mastery online. Is that Crackling Doom?
It was a Crackling Doom.
All right, well.
Jace is in Merfolk Looter form doing just fine.
So the dig ends up netting him a Polluted Delta.
You got to get some credit when you discard the card to Jace.
Yeah. Oh, it's like he discarded the dig and netted him Polluted Delta.
I kind of want to see the end of this. Our first match is ready to start, but this feels like it's in an interesting spot. Can we get picture-in-picture? Is that possible? All right, Mantis Rider from Luis. They both come flying over.
All right, this puts him in a pretty strong spot. If Justin doesn't draw a land, that
Perfect.
means that Jeskai Charm flash it back. If he decides to go the route of Ulamagging away both Mantis Riders, is going to be lethal. He still has Negate. He did draw a land, so that can gain him life. Is that another offshoot in hand as well?
Didn't see. You can see our table 1 down there. Brad Nelson is led with Warden of the First Tree. Brandon has answered with a turn 1 Swift Spear.
Brad choosing not to pump with Plains. He's going to lead on Hanger back. He's got Jamoka's command in hand, which is a pretty nice one. Brad's sideboard in this matchup, while he needs a lot of cards because it's a really bad Game 1 matchup, he does have a lot. He's got Silk Wrap, Stasis Snare, 2 Arishan Clerics, and 3 Surge of Righteousness.
All right.
Not sure how many of those cards actually do come in.
Here
but
we go.
A lot of options.
Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger. Hedron Archive gave Justin the mana he needed. Down go both Mantis Riders. And Luis tapped below Ojutai's command mana to play that second Mantis Rider.
Well, he's got Crackling Doom.
Does have Crackling Doom, so he does get to kill Ulamog. But
So is Justin's life total accurate, or did he go down to 8 on that Mantis Rider hit and now potentially gained a life off the offshoot? If so, he's just dead. Oh, he hasn't even played the offshoot yet. So, yeah, I believe he's going to gain 2. I thought that only put him to 10. If that's correct, then Crackling Doom, Jeskai Charm, Flash it back is lethal.
yeah, looks like you're right. Crackling Doom to kill Ulamog.
Which is why Luis got the Polluted Delta.
Wow, he took the land because he wanted to set up Jeskai Charm, Jeskai Charm. Well played, Luis Scott-Vargas. This looks like the math checks out.
Yep.
Polluted Delta end step, Polluted Delta end step for the Crackling Doom, or the Jeskai Charm, either way.
He may not actually be able to do this just because of the way he tapped his mana.
He can he can charm.
Oh, no.
He can charm untapped Doom
No.
Charm.
No, because it's a Polluted Delta. He doesn't have 2 basics in play. He doesn't have a second island.
Oh, he
so
doesn't
he
have
has
a
to get a
second
swamp.
island?
Yeah, he can't actually do this.
Oh no, he doesn't have a second island.
Yeah,
Has to get a swamp, which means you can't cast 2 Jeskai Charms when there's a swamp involved.
yeah. I don't think there was any way he actually could tap it. It was just, I think he had to just not get Polluted Delta. I believe there was a mountain in there that he could have gotten.
Oh, crazy.
Oh, he has Kolagon's command, so he can kill it, deal 2, and still Jeskai Charm. But he can't flash it back.
He can't do just 2 Jeskai Charms.
Nope.
Kolaghan's Command does deal the 2 damage here. So Justin Cohen falls to 8. But Luis can deal 6 this turn.
Yeah.
Not 8. I mean, if he comes up with... Yeah, wow, so he just has to ship the turn. Can he survive a turn? I mean, he can kill Ulamog with Crackling Doom.
If he got the Mountain instead of the Polluted Delta, he could have actually cast the Jeskai Charm, and he would have been able to do it.
There was a Mountain in the dig.
There was a Mountain in the dig, yeah.
I wonder, you so often have 2 basics by now. Do you think that was just a mistake?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know what I could be missing, but I think that's what happened.
He was just expecting to get an untapped battle land.
I think he wanted the fetch land to, for the Jace.
Oh, right.
But I don't think he actually needed the extra card. And so I think it's actually just going to come back and bite him. I don't know that he's necessarily going to lose because of it, but he was able to kill the Archive, so Justin's actually a mana away from being able to cast that second Ulamog.
Right.
Because he had to sack... the Archive died to the Kolaghan's Command, and he had to sacrifice the Sanctum to go get the other Ulamog. So it's possible that, he did not draw a land, so this is actually not going to cost Luis.
Wow.
Right, Ulamog is only 10. Isn't that only sending Luis to 1 life?
Just 16. No problem. Take 16. He just lets the 16 happen.
Yeah. Well,
He's probably surely this is actually
he
cute.
could cast Crackling Doom.
He could. He's choosing not to. I think because Justin has a second copy of Ulamog in his hand, Luis doesn't know he's a land short.
Yep.
Luis is playing. If Justin wants to cast that second Ulamog, well, he's going to lose the first one to the legendary rule.
So Luis actually gets to block and flip Jace to save himself the 10 damage.
Always good times.
I assume. His graveyard's off the screen, but I assume that.
Yeah.
We've completely lost track of the other
That's
match.
fine. We wanted to see that Ulamog. This was like...
Oh, sorry, I forgot to even look at it. There's stuff happening. But
we'll put it there so that people can really, really care. They can watch.
Someone update me in the chat what's happening in the other match.
I
Someone who
see-
really, really cared.
I see Titan's Strength. And a Target's Command. That's got to be good for Brandon. All right. Luis has, in fact, blocked Ulamog, flipped his Jace.
The problem with this play comes in the fact that that second Ulamog could potentially exile away the Jace, which then he can't flash back Jeskai Charm.
Good point.
So that was a pretty risky line, I believe, although I'm not sure what else is in his hand. He might have another burn spell. Well, he could take the 10.
Oh,
He can just go to 1, and then if Ulamog comes down, he can flip the Jace then.
All right, they just picked him up. Is that Luis flashing the lethal burn?
He showed him the Jeskai Charm, and the Jeskai Charm will get flashback to finish.
All right, Luis Scott-Vargas takes game 1. Now let's go check on game 2 between Brad and Brandon. A couple Thopter tokens from that Hangerback Walker for Brad Nelson. Let's get a Silk Grab for one of the Monastery Swift Spears. Brad is at 7. Titan Strength plus a Tarkus Charm. Got some good beats in last turn. Here's Hordling Outburst.
All right. I don't think Brad minds this too much. He's surviving, so it's a good spot to be.
Right.
Now this Warden can gain lifelink if he wants.
Brad goes into the tank. Number 15 ranked player in the world. Feels good about his Jeskai matchup, but we saw him lose to Hardened Scales on camera.
He didn't talk about that matchup much.
No, and now here he's only okay against a Tarka Red. A Tarka Red deck should be advantaged in this matchup, right?
Yeah, game 1 I think is strongly in the Tarka Red's favor. Winning the roll, just putting that over the top. Games 2 and 3, it gets interesting. Like you said, 3 Surge of Righteousness and 2 Arishan Cleric is a lot. Like that's a lot to deal with. You already have cards like Jamoka's Command and some good early creatures, so you definitely have game, but it's not the matchup I want to face.
Turn them all sideways, Brandon says. Brad's going to block with everything he can. Brad does have the ability to pump the Warden as well, of course. But
Seems like there's a reasonable chance he just dies here.
we'll see what happens. Yeah, target's command. So I presume that's +1/+1 to the team and no life gain. So turning off the first strike on the Warden, dealing 3 to drop Brad to 4. The Goblin's
Doesn't have lifelink yet. He still has to pay 4 mana to do that. So I assume he's going to deal the 3 because, at least forces Brad to pay 4 mana before it actually does anything.
Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, Brad falls to 4. He can pump the Warden to survive the fight. Both the Thopters are dying, and both of those creatures are surviving. Right now, Brad's Warden is dying, and that Goblin's surviving. Gotta imagine Brad pays here, right? I mean, even if he
dies to a lot of things, but he can't do anything about that.
It's not like he dies. It's not like he's helped by doing nothing.
Well, it depends on his hand. If he has like a surge, it looked like he kind of had a whole lot of nothing, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, he does pump. He dies to anything, including Become Immense. Brandon Burton smashes Brad Nelson. A quick 2-0. So Brandon moves to 6-1. Brad's going to have to run off a couple of wins if he wants to play day 2.
Yeah. Tough start for Brad.
And I love the story you were telling earlier, too. Brad's advice to Brandon yesterday was go back to your red deck.
Yeah.
You're very good with the red deck. You haven't played as much Jeskai as you have red. Just stick to the thing that you know super well. That's good advice in a lot of standard formats. I think it's particularly good in this one.
Absolutely. The Jeskai deck is complicated, and again, it requires a lot of game actions and, a lot of speed. Like, you just got to be playing pretty quickly. And Brad said that he wasn't sure how great Brandon was going to be under a lot of pressure, and you're guaranteed to be under a lot of pressure on the clock when you play a deck that goes long, and you have to dictate all your plays, and there's a lot of shuffling. It's just hard to finish matches. A lot of the fastest players in the world are really struggling to just get their matches done in this current standard format.
And we get back right in time to watch Game 2 between Luis and Justin.
Well, once Justin finishes, I assume mulliganing.
Yeah, Luis seems to have a hand face down in front of him. He is content. Now, we were talking about this matchup earlier. Your theory is that Eldrazi ramp is actually favored against Dark Jeskai?
Quite confident that Eldrazi ramp is favored, and by that same token, I've played against this deck a number of times online with Dark Jeskai and haven't lost. I think it was built to really have a strong matchup against Jeskai, and something we talked about when we were breaking down standards, just you can't have that strong a matchup against Jeskai. Even the decks with good matchups just aren't great, and so the games are close. Like we saw, Luis, that game was really razor tight. Getting the right land off a dig through time could have ended up being costly. Like, if Justin had one more mana, he might have just won that game. Like, games are just tight.
He could have played Ulamog a turn earlier if he'd had a mana.
Absolutely.
Could have played second Ulamog if he had a mana on the last turn.
Yes.
I think the deck that Eldrazi truly crushes is the green-white Megamorph.
Yeah, that deck really struggles against Ugin. I mean, Ugin is really strong against the Jeskai deck, but you do have cards like Disdainful Stroke and Duress, which are great answers, honestly. And so there's definitely some decent game that you can put up, and Other End can potentially take down Ugin after it does some of its dirty work, and even Tassiger is a pretty strong card after Ugin sweeps the board. So there's some reasonable game against it, while other decks kind of completely fold to it. Luis deciding what to discard. Painful Truth. That's a painful discard.
You take that as a sign that his hand's pretty good?
Yeah, that's a reasonable assumption. Wanting to leave up Disdainful Stroke. Justin's going to have access to, it looks like, 6 mana this turn. With a land drop, that is. Not a lot that this deck really does on 6. Nothing I can think of. At 7 is when you start getting Dragonlord Atarka, which is... that's about the time where you really want to have your mana available. So it looks like Justin's actually in a weird spot here. He's got Dragonlord Atarka in hand. He's got Rattleclaw Mystic in play. He doesn't want to flip it so that he can cast Dragonlord Atarka next turn. But of course that means he's Rending Volley stranded in his hand right now, and so he can't actually use it to kill Jace. So next turn, by flipping the Rattleclaw, he'll be able to ramp himself all the way to 7. But if he uses it now, he will be multiple turns away at the least from casting Dragonlord Atarka. Not to mention the Ugin, which costs even more mana in his hand.
Luis discards Ojutai's command to Jace this time.
So Luis is an interesting spot of, do I want to cast anything and let my guard down? And he actually has Crackling Doom in his hand, and that can knock multiple mana out of the way for Justin Cohen. Of course, he can flip in response and turn that Rending Volley on, which was previously off. And he's just going to pass the turn and leave up his Disdainful Strokes. He also, he's another copy of Ojutai's command as well. So a lot of answers to this Dragonlord Atarka right now. I think Luis would be thrilled to see Dragonlord Atarka get cast right now. It'll allow him to Ojutai's command as a dismiss, flip his Jace, Crackling Doom to kill the Rattleclaw Mystic, and potentially, be able to flash things back with Jace, potentially cast Tasigur, potentially leave up Disdainful Stroke, although Justin's going to be short on mana if that ends up happening.
Does Luis know that's a Rattleclaw Mystic? Is it sort of
Yes.
generally understood that that's the only morph they play?
It could be Den Protector, but I think Luis is putting him on Rattleclaw Mystic, yes.
Yeah, I was just looking at the list. There are no Den Protectors in the list.
Right.
I don't know how widely known that is.
So this is actually a tough spot for Justin, but the fact that he can actually cash in his Rending Volley before Jace gets turned on is pretty lucky.
Right, so he flips Rattleclaw Mystic as a response to Crackling Doom to make the red mana to kill Jace. Luis would probably be more upset about this if he wasn't holding Ojutai's command. Still not ideal for him. But he does get to untap, sit on
He's in
Ojutai's command.
pretty amazing shape right now. He's going to actually get to cast Manus Rider by leaving up Disdainful Stroke. Manus Rider is incredible in this matchup because it just deals so much damage so quickly and it's so cheap, and there just aren't good answers to it that once you're able to start answering things like Ugin, well, actually he's just going to go with Tasigur, which is also
Tasigur
great
leaving
threat.
the Jace and leaving up Ojutai's command.
Yeah.
So he's
kinda
got
gets
his
to do it all.
choice of command or Tasigur activation, with the Jace sitting at the only card in his graveyard.
And Justin's still mana's away from being able to deploy his threats, although he's going to have a lot of mana next turn. The problem with Justin's hand is that it just doesn't have Ulamog, and Luis has all the answers to these actual threats in Justin's hand.
Yeah, Ugin can just get countered. Dragonlord Atarka can just get countered.
Also, Justin's on an incredibly fast clock.
Oh, by the way. Luis does tap below command, but Disdainful Stroke counters everything he actually cares about.
Yeah, Justin's really between a rock and a hard place, which is, what we were talking about with how it's just very hard to actually defeat this Jeskai deck. He basically needs to cast Ugin here and try to clean up the board, and that just walks into Disdainful Stroke. Dragonlord Atarka actually can't even be cast. He doesn't have
No
red mana.
Yeah, he's got to go for the Ugin, hope it works. I don't think he can be counting on it working. At least gets the trigger for having casted expensive enough colorless spell.
Yeah, I think whatever he gets is just going to be too slow at this point.
Because he has to resolve this first, right?
Well, there's still 2 copies of Disdainful Stroke in Luis's hand. He's just, or is that a dig? He's shuffling his hand pretty quickly. I thought it was 2 Disdainful Strokes, though, in which case it looks like he's looking at a Rune Processor
That
that
is
just
a Rune
gain 5
Processor.
life through counters, but
Yeah, it's funny. All the sort of processor and jest mechanics seem like they might be better in constructed than limited.
they're
lot
pretty
of
good
cards-
and limited.
A lot of cards that wind up in exile, is all I'm saying.
They really are. So this gets stroked. There's still Ojutai's command just at the ready. And what that's going to mean is that Justin's going to go down to 4. This processor is going to get him to 9. But Ojutai's command just puts Jace into play, and Jeskai Charm gets flashed back, and it's just going to be lethal kind of on the spot.
Here's a 7-point
Assuming
attack.
Luis can get 1 more card in his graveyard, of which I think he has lots of ways to do that. Or Soulfire Grandmaster will also be lethal. Yeah, he's got Disdainful Stroke in hand. Nothing to worry about at this point. Just going to be game over here.
Yeah, Justin doing math. Can I survive this turn? If Ruin Processor does its thing, he can potentially survive a turn, but just looking over at that grip full of cards for Luis.
Yeah, he can't really beat just about anything possible. Like all the modes of Ojutai's command are kind of going to beat him here. And even just the Jace being able to flash back a Jeskai term, even if the Rune Processor stuck and didn't have the counter creature ability, it would still be lethal. So. Yep. Just weighing his options and just I don't like any of them.
Looks like he is going to settle on the Ruin Processor. Kind of a shrug. I would like to...
Process even make sure that Jace has enough fodder to flip.
Yes, it does.
Not that it needs it.
You just obviously process a land, right?
You would think, unless he's really worried about those 3 cards.
And yes, there's Ojutai's command, countering Rune Processor, and doesn't matter what else he does. Because he's got 9 power. Now he's got 9 power and a Jace.
It's a lot of power. And that Jace is now in the power 9.
Played Jason Vintage last Friday night.
I've heard Jace is tearing it up.
Very good.
Yeah, Jason dig through time. Get to play those cards in standard somehow. That's kind of a good signal of what cards are going to be powerful in standard. Like, is it vintage playable? Is it vintage broken? Maybe we should play these cards in standard.
Yeah, Justin realizes it doesn't matter. He extends the hand, and Luis Scott-Vargas wins. Not the easiest of matchups, but not the most consistent of opponents either in the Eldrazi ramp deck. So Luis, 2-0 victory. He's already clinched day 2. Got 2 rounds left to play to try to get himself into position for a deep run on day 2. See if he can add another top 8 to his resume.
Yeah, Luis gets to play Magic on Sunday. Who would have thought?
Now, you were telling me that Luis wasn't initially planning to come to this GP, but just kind of got the itch. Is that the way I was hearing that story?
Yeah, Luis is definitely one of those guys who really values his weekends at home, and I think a lot of us, as we get into our 30s, wife, kids, whatever it may be, job, just a lot of things that take up a lot of your time. That ability to be able to relax and just enjoy some time with friends or family, and be at home and in your own bed, it's valuable. And the call of being able to play more Magic and hang out with your Magic friends, though, that's even more valuable. And so he's been playing a lot of Magic lately. Is really, things have been going well and been enjoying it. And, it's the best game ever made for a reason. Got a deck that he likes and kind of booked his flights.
True that.
It's like Pat Cox has a room for me. I found a flight that was like $100. I'll go. Let's see what I can do with this Jeskai deck.
Nice. Meanwhile, we have moved another match from a back table up onto a camera table. Stefan Berrios on the right of your screen is on Esper Dragon, so yet another take on how to play Esper. There's Surge of Righteousness. That card seeing a ton of play. Taking down a Mantis Rider here. Brandon Nelson. Speaking, we had Brad Nelson versus Brandon Burton. Now it's Brandon Nelson's turn to confuse us with names.
I believe they're the same person, though.
Yeah, okay, so it's not actually that confusing.
It's a split card.
Stefan going to flip a Jace here.
Yeah, we got dueling Jaces. Lots of Jaces in the graveyard.
Yeah, Jace discarding Jace. Yeah, my vintage listed Friday Night Magic last week. I had 1 Vryn's Prodigy, 1 Mind Sculptor. Like, if I had to go 2-0, it would have been Vryn's Prodigy.
Yeah, it's 2 mana is a lot less than 4.
Really is.
Jace Vryn's Prodigy, better than all.
All right, Berrios goes for Dragonlord Ojutai, but Nelson has the Disdainful Stroke.
Looks like Manus Rider mana. Alright, it's a quick clock.
Yeah,
Jace.
down goes Jace. Oh, no, not quite down. He plussed it last turn, so only a 2 power Tassiger. Right?
That's right.
And here's another Dragonlord Ojutai. And this one sticks. Mantis Rider down to 1 power. This is a dance that can go on for a while.
A bizarre choice after you play a 5/4 to shrink the 3/3 instead of the 4/5. I think that was a misclick.
It does have a flying blocker for Mantis Rider. You make a fine point. I guess the theory is he's willing
Yeah, I
to
guess he just
trade
wants
for
to trade.
Tassiger,
Yeah.
and this way he keeps his Jace alive.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, like, you can keep Jace and force them to chump attack. Like, you can keep Dragonlord Ojutai and force them to chump attack to trade your Jace. I would imagine you'd rather have Dragonlord Ojutai and just a dead Tassiger or Mantis Rider versus a Jace when it's only on 2, but
Yeah, he clearly decided that he thought Jace was more important than Dragonlord Ojutai.
he did.
Tassiger gets an activation and does in fact trade for Ojutai.
Yeah, and now Jeskai Charm can just take down the Jace that he's trying to protect. So it's going to be Manus Rider and Jace against nothing, with Jeskai Charm sitting in the graveyard ready to roll. Nope.
He goes for Tassiger instead of...
Tassiger works.
Interesting. Do you like playing Tassiger rather than killing the Jace with the Jeskai Charm?
Yeah, it's reasonable. It's hard to tell exactly what lands are out. It looks like 2 Shambling Vents, so shrinking the Tassiger means it can't attack. If you can find an answer for Manus Rider, although you're probably going to have to tap mana for this dig. I don't know.
Yeah,
It looks like Berrios is falling pretty far behind here, though.
It does get to resolve a dig through time. Behind on the board, but dig through time. We'll see. Is he empty-handed other than the dig?
I don't see any cards.
Yeah, I don't either.
See what he comes up with. Looks like a Jace. Oh, Dragonlord.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
Wow. What a turn for Stefan Berrios. Dragonlord Silumgar to steal Tassiger, and Jace gets to tick down the Mantis Rider.
Now, we know that Brandon has Jeskai Charm in hand, which is
Yes.
a reasonable-ish answer.
Yes.
Still just going to come back down, though.
Yeah, he needs to combo it with something like a Disdainful Stroke.
Yeah, Manus Rider is too small to actually take down Jace. He's going to get a Tassiger activation, but he's just going to lose Tassiger again.
Yeah, Mantis Rider chips over for 1. Jace ticks up. And Brandon wants to combo that Jeskai Charm with something like a Disdainful Stroke for Dragonlord Silumgar. I'm sure that's what Stefan Berrios is worried about. Tasker activation as a response. Crackling Doom and Kolaghan's Command.
Well, this Tassiger is actually would be pretty nice protection, except... Wait, was this not already targeted?
Dragonlord Silumgar, as a response to Dragonlord Silumgar, Brandon activated
Ooh.
Tassiger.
Huh.
Yeah, he did it as a response to the dragon being cast. not
That's
targeting.
a pretty big mistake. What Dragon Lord Solar Guard would have taken the Tasigur, and then you respond by activating it. And what that would have done was mean that his Jace would have stayed on 5, potentially, assuming that he takes Tasigur again, which you assume that he would. And then Jace could actually flashback. Oh no, he couldn't do both. He couldn't plus the Jace on the Dragon Lord Silumgar, or on the Tasigur, and then flashback Rock and Doom. Never mind. I'm losing it. Yeah, this is reasonable.
Tasigur attacks Jace. Mantis Rider can block because the Tasigur's only got 2 power. Wait, didn't he shrink the... What did I miss?
Yeah, he did.
Isn't that a 2-power Tasigur? Why is
Mm.
Mantis Rider dead?
It shouldn't be.
Okay.
I'm fairly certain he shrunk the right the only creature, but
All right.
well, now we're getting pretty far away from being able to back this up.
Wow. Yeah, because he just regrew the Mantis Rider that we didn't even think was dead.
Yeah. We missed something?
All right. Well, there's now a Mantis Rider and a Jason play on Brandon Nelson's side of the board,
Yeah.
along with the tapped Tasigur.
So, yeah, that Mantis Rider should still be alive on the other side.
It should be on the other side of the table, right? It wasn't.
he-
Shouldn't have been there to regrow.
Did he
with-
have an answer to that? Like that?
Yeah, it would
that
be killing
would've just
Jace
killed
here.
Jace. Yeah, that's huge.
Now the Mantis Rider's been shrunk. Silumgar chips away at Jace's loyalty. Haven is going to bring back Dragon Lord Ojutai. Stefan Berrios still in pretty good shape, even though that Mantis Rider has defected.
He is and he isn't. Like, he can flip the other Jace, Crackling Doom to kill Dragon Lord Ojutai, and kill Jace. Yeah, he gets to shrink that, flip the other Jace, keep that one around at 5, and Crackling Doom away the Ojutai. So I actually really like Brandon's spot here. Now, if that Mantis Rider was still in play on the other side,
Sure.
might be feeling a bit different. What is the creature at the top? Is that a Tasigur?
Yeah.
Okay, so Tasigur gets to take down Jace. The Mantis Rider comes in for 1. I believe that got shrunk. Well, doesn't really make sense to attack like that. If the Tasigur was the one that got shrunk, just missing a point of damage, but so be it.
I think Mantis Rider gets shrunk there too.
Well, Mantis Rider clearly was the one attacking Jace, and it looks like Steven took 2 damage, so I think he shrunk Tasigur. And, yeah.
Now the hand of the judge comes in.
Oh, boy.
Where were you when Mantis Rider was defecting?
You had one job.
No, it's actually not the judge's job to keep that stuff straight,
No,
of course.
not at
We're
all.
Totally kidding.
But Phil, the dragon or dinosaur supervisor for Jurassic Park, he's the one who really dropped the ball here.
Stefan does draw another dig through time.
Yeah. This is part of the problem with Standard is that we are probably quickly reaching the end of the round and we're in game 2. So players forced to play a little bit faster, forget whichever triggers happen,
Right.
creatures die that maybe shouldn't have died, and mistakes just happen. Doesn't look like he hit too much. He's kind of... Is that a Monastery Mentor?
Really?
That's what
That'd
it
be
looked
fun.
like. I could be completely wrong, though.
You have the deck list under there somewhere.
It's huge.
Dragon
2
Lord.
on the sideboard.
Nice. Dragonlord Ojutai joins the team for like the 4th time this game. And Tassiger for Brandon Nelson continues to do good work.
Wow, Jace comes back, which is going to threaten. I guess not too much. Jeskai Charm. Tasker comes in. Connects.
And here's that Jace. Monastery Mentor on the sideboard seems nice if you need to win a game in a hurry, too.
I mean, Dragonlord Ojutai does a pretty good job of winning games in a hurry. It's just not greatly positioned in a metagame where people get to splash Crackling Dooms kind of for free in their Jeskai decks.
Yeah, it's all the Crackling Dooms that are out there are supposed to be the reason you can't play Esper Dragons, right?
Well,
Isn't that how the logic's
that's
supposed
one
to
of
go?
the reasons, at least.
What else
There's
is
also a
wrong
lot
with
of
it?
Rending Volleys to deal with Jaces, and they're pretty good against Dragonlord Ojutai.
I guess that's true. There's Kalagan's Command, which is going to try to team up with a Mantis Rider to take down Ojutai, but that's not going to work.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's Scatter to the Winds, making a Monk token. Not for 6, though. None of the lands are awakening.
Well, Stefan has definitely turned a bit of a corner here. He's going to need a big turn from Brandon.
Well,
Jeskai is certainly capable of big turns. Jace is going to flip. I assume he needs to take care of... Well, he's got to take care of this Mentor and this Dragonlord Ojutai right about now because they get out of hand quick. So Flashback Kolaghan's Command could potentially kill a Mentor.
Yep. But not the Ojutai.
But not the Ojutai. Could also get back a Mantis Rider, which is at least something.
Yeah, that's the line.
If he has like a Murderous Cut or something that kills this Dragonlord Ojutai, he's in pretty good shape. If not, well,
Does get to
still a clock.
attack. Yeah, I mean that's 7 power attacking a player on
it's to
14.
shrink, I assume, the Silumgar.
Well, then Jace did flashback. So.
Oh, the Jace Flashback, of course, sorry. There's still shambling events, at least one of them on the other side, too. An Obnixilis? Is he playing that?
Plausible.
He does have Obnixilis in his deck. Yeah, it looks like that.
Silumgar is going to finish off Jace. Ojutai is going to attempt to attack Brandon. Mantis Rider's just going to chump block, save 5 life and a card. But here is Obnixilis reignited. Now the opponent
Brandon
has a
has a
creature, so
counter.
you kill it. Is that how this Obnixilis thing works?
Well, yeah, especially when it's as good as Tassiger, but Brandon had the counter. He's in a lot of trouble. Not a lot of outs from this situation.
Yeah, even though the Obnixilis got countered, Stefan's still able to add Tassiger to his board.
Extremely far ahead. Looks like another land. Like this Tassiger drawing cards just doesn't do anything at this point just because there's so many weak cards. Like this Dragonlord Silumgar and this Dragonlord Ojutai are just going to hit.
Flips the negate and an Ojutai's command. Many, 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 many choices.
Now, Stefan's graveyard on the other side is just Obnixilis.
Jace and Belladar Cub join Brandon's side of the board, but like you say, Stefan seems to be way out in front and just pulling farther ahead.
Oh yeah, he is getting buried.
The rest
Card
sees
advantage
a
here.
land.
Ojutai will draw a card for him.
Yeah, the 2 flyers are not quite lethal, but they will be next turn. Gonna need need to be a good draw. Nope. Stefan Berrios wins 2 games to 0. Moves to 6-0-1. Just needs to win one of his next 2 to keep playing. Brandon now back against the wall. I mean, on the one hand, it's his first loss, but that draw is just as bad as a loss in terms of advancement to day 2.
Yeah, those Nelsons, they're going to need to win a couple rounds.
Could get the Nelson mirror match. See what happens. This can't be Brandon Nelson in both of these matches.
It's unlikely at the very least.
Shaheen Soorani is actually playing against Jacob Wilson, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Does that look like Jacob? Yeah, Jacob Wilson.
I could believe it.
Soulfire Grandmaster for Jacob. Jace for Shaheen. Crackling Doom, able to kill the Jace. Sometimes it's good to be on the play. Backup Jace. Can Jacob kill this one? No. I believe these guys are both undefeated. Shaheen with yet another different take on Esper. I don't know how his is. Well, his is a little different. He's got more planeswalkers than most. Wow, he's got Despise in the main. That's fun. 3 copies of Ruinous Path.
Well, this Despise is going to miss.
Lots of different ways you can configure an Esper deck. How many planeswalkers do you want? We saw Kunio playing multiple copies of Narset Transcendent. Shaheen has 1 copy of her.
1 more on the sideboard. Well, the Shambling Vents kind of shuts the door on these attacks a little bit.
A little bit. That seems like a card that people initially turn their nose up at, but really starting to get a lot of people's respect.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you have a land that produces 2 colors of mana, you got to take notice of it. And anytime you have a land that turns into a creature, you have to take notice of it. So no big surprise that this card's actually pretty good.
Yeah, the full 4 copies in Shaheen's list. Ojutai's command runs into a scatter, but Mantis Rider gets a clear path. Briefly. Jace has now ignited his spark. That is a Fathom Feeder.
Yep, and this is the point where Esper runs away.
Yeah. Jace able to flashback Murderous Cut, take care of Soulfire Grandmaster, or at least try to take care of Soulfire Grandmaster, except there's a Dispel, except there's a Scatter to win for the Dispel. Now Fathom Feeder able to attack and draw cards. Shaheen is hellbent briefly, but Jacob is going to need to answer this quite quickly. Draws a card with Fathom Feeder. It's not an answer to Tasigur, so Tasigur in the building. Along with his friend Jace. Secure the Waste, a card that's showing up in many different strategies these days. All the Tokens deck want it, and many of the Esper decks enjoy having access to Secure the Waste. Jace flashback and Utter End to deal with the Tasigur. Fathom Feeder attacks boldly through Jace.
Yeah, I mean, Jace can take down Jace, but...
Alright, Crackling Doom, and here's a Mantis Rider.
Alright, a bit of a threat.
Narset for Shaheen. He's certainly... I don't know. I mean, I guess he's pulling a little bit farther ahead each time. I feel like Jacob is able to sort of fend off defeat, but not really turning a profit in terms of winning the game. Can't imagine Shaheen's life total is low enough for that Mantis Rider to be super threatening. Although, again, Shaheen tapped out. Yeah, Shambling Vents is part of his offense, too, so he's even gaining life.
Yeah, I mean, it's just chump attacking each turn, but Shaheen's getting to draw a card and negate the damage from the Mantis Rider, and
here's
Nixilus will actually finish it off and should finish this game off.
Now it's up to 2 Planeswalkers, Sorted Attackers, some Lifelink, an Emblem. Jacob now only allowed to cast creature spells, and scoops him up. So game 1 to Esper. We saw Esper beat Jeskai the last time we watched it. See if that's going to repeat itself here. Our day so far has been Jeskai decks against decks that are supposedly good against Jeskai.
Well, that's what we said, is that if there's a boogeyman in the format, it's going to be hard to play a deck that you don't think beats Jeskai. And the problem is, Jeskai doesn't really lose to anything. It's just a good deck. And there's
feel like
another
it's
despise miss.
I think it's lost more feature matches than it's won.
Has it?
I think.
It's possible.
I don't know. Luis won the worst matchup we saw.
Yeah. And that's not to say you can't build decks that are going to, fail to beat it, but you're still talking about, low 50s, mid 50s, maybe high 50s. It's tough to get into that 60 range. It's just a consistent, strong deck that has good early, mid, and late game.
That's pretty good language for Shaheen there. Although Despise keeps missing.
Yeah.
Funny.
I mean, once you get past, I guess, turn 3 or so against this Jeskai deck, that Despise is just not going to do much. The creatures don't sit in hand.
It's crazy how many times Jacob has killed Jace with Crackling Doom in this match.
Yeah, it's one of the main functions of Crackling Doom nowadays. Jace is just such a powerful card.
And a 4th time. But Shaheen getting off his 2nd dig through time of the game. That can't be good for Team Wilson. Yeah, he's got the calm 1 card face down. Attacking with Gideon. Okay, Dragon Master Outcast. Is this maybe? No. Okay, Ojutai's Command.
Yeah, Gideon on the empty board. That'll do it.
Yeah. So Shaheen Soorani, 2 games to 0. Esper over Jacob Wilson. Jacob Wilson's Jeskai, and that will do it for round 7 of Grand Prix Indianapolis.